Greetings, YouTube. It is I, Sakarma, and I'm here with another battle for Total Brohammer with the Empire versus P Dizzle 37's High Elves. So let's get right into the composition builds. Everyone's my favorite part of the battle, where we're gonna go over what I brought. So it's actually one of my favorite matchups to do. I really like, especially in Warhammer 1, even in Warhammer 2. I think it's still, I mean, obviously, I think Wood Elves are a better all-around faction, but I actually think Empire can hang with them pretty well if you bring the right build. So, what do I think the right build is? So I'd like to bring Boris Todbringer on he's also a Griffin bringer in my build, and he brings also everything else. He's the all-bringer, all the items, because I think he needs the speed, he needs the healing, he needs that crush the weak. Makes him a solid little lore choice in this battle. You have to worry about him being netted if they did bring a Prey of Anathema, because he will melt to Archer Fire, especially out of the effects of the Prey of Anathema, but which is a word I cannot pronounce. But pardon me. Barring that, he's still quite a good lord, pretty tanky, healing, not a bad guy. Especially if he gets caught once or twice by the Prey of Anathema. Jeez, I gotta go take Reading Rainbow again. If he does get caught, he can always run away, heal, and come back. So he's a solid lord choice. And you might say, oh, what about dragons? Well, that's why you bring this little guy over here, the Light Wizard. The dragons, forest dragons only have about 50 armor. So if you bring a number of range, I used to bring the silver bullets, but I actually think these guys are just better suited. 3 crossbowmen, because they're far cheaper, can just melt a dragon. And if you get into the net and you hit it with the crossbows and you charge up Boris, you should be able to do some serious damage on it pretty quickly. So I think with the net, with Boris, with this range, you should be okay being him in the air. Aside from that, so I brought 3 crossbows, I brought Boris, I brought the Light Wizard, I brought 3 Spearmen with shields because they have pretty good melee defense value. Yeah, 42. So against Glade Guard, they should be able to trade effectively, or at least hold them for a long time. And then, pardon me again, otherwise they should be able to soak up some ranged fire for you. So yeah, I'm going to try and hurry this up because we're right in the action. So okay, I brought those 3 guys. I brought some Flagellants, and I brought Sigmar's son over here, along with the Royal Altar of Griffites. Griffites, right? Griffites, yes. And then 1 Blazing Sun and 2 Knight of the Blazing Sun on either flank. And that's my build. My opponent's build over here, you see I'm going to get a net. Try and stop these guys, do some damage. We'll show the result of that. He brought a Waystalker. He brought Orion. They brought Orion. They brought 1 War Dancer with Osprey Spears in the back here to defend their 2 Glade Guard with Starfire Shafts. Makes sense. 2 Wildwood Rangers, which will pretty much beat the bones out of all my units. Any great swords they'll wreck, and then every other infantry unit they'll wreck. Then they have 5 Eternal Guard in the front, alongside this Branch Wraith with what's that? Melkoff's Penumbra. Another name in this game I cannot pronounce. Pendulum Plumbers. The Penumbral Pendulum. Penumbral Pendulum. I'm going to say the Pendulum. It's more fun for me. Melkoff's, and of course Earthblood. So let's get the battle started. So you can see he's doing some skirmishing here because these guys have crazy high range, like 150, and that only is a little bit shorter than my crossbowmen. So I wanted to net him. Funny enough, he still moves while netted, but he moves towards me, which is actually a great pick for me because I'm going to get some decent damage on him. I mean, I don't know if this was worth a net. Pardon me. But I figured the more I can whittle down their range, the more range superiority I'll have, and none of his units have arm. So, I mean, these guys all have shields, or some of them have shields, but I'm not really worried about Eternal Guard in this matchup because they'll get eaten by Flagellants. So the more range I can get off the field for my opponent, the better a position I'll be in. I thought he was charging me. I thought they were charging me, rather. So I sort of just gave up the hill. This was kind of a mistake because my opponent, instead of charging me wisely, just sort of... Oh man, I'm in rough shape here, guys. Just had some Caribbean food. It just worked out, so I'm coughing up a storm here. I'm just coughing up some of that Caribbean flavor. But anyways, it is delicious. Anyways, yeah, so I thought he was going to charge. But instead, they just sort of planked right down here, which is a really smart move, especially since, I mean... It's hard to say who has the range advantage, really. I mean, they have 20 extra meters, or whatever the number represents. They have 20 extra meters on their firing. I brought Boris over here thinking he could be safe and get in the back line, but I quickly see that as a mistake because he's losing health very quickly, so I run him back. But they are going to do us some serious damage to him, not to mention he has his arrow spears, so... And he gets me the arrow... What was that? It looked like the arrows are... Oh, he does have the arrows of Curtis on the Waystalker, so yeah, he's just doing tons of damage in a very short amount of time. But anyways, I'm repositioning down here. I do realize I'm downhill, and that's not a good thing, especially since I have this giant rock that will prevent my calf from flanking. However, my opponent does not know that these Knights of Blazing Sun exist, so that's something I'm trying to keep in my pocket here. Meanwhile, Oh, jeez, you guys hear that? That was fun. No, I realized in this battle, the key to this battle, for me at least, what I thought is, obviously my infantry will not be able to beat their infantry. However, it will hold for a long time because it's full of flagellants and Sigmar Suns. So the key here is that I can kill their ranged by whatever means necessary, whether that's sacrificing Cav or Boris or whatever. If I can get rid of their range, I'm going to be in really good shape because I can just whittle down the remainder of their infantry and they won't be able to catch me. Especially if I have a few Cav units left, I can just cycle charge. So that was my thinking. He brings out Orion here, which is wise. You know, he has some of those bound spells, and really, Orion is a great character in that you can just throw him away, kind of. In that all the damage he takes doesn't really matter, because once he gets that below 20%, he gets a Cloak of Isha, which makes him a way tougher unit to kill and cast that, whatever it's called. Not Horns of Orion, or whatever it's called. I forget the name of it. But the thing that summons bolts from the sky. Let's see what the name is. There's Hounds of Orion, which is the other one, but this one is Hawk's Talon. Yeah, so anyways, Orion's a great lord that you can just sort of throw him in there and not worry about him until later. Because he actually gets better once he's at 20% less health. And he heals so quickly, and that resist is so great. Unless you're facing like a dragon or something that can do serious amount of damage in 1 or 2 shots, you're pretty much okay just sending him wherever you want to send him. Meanwhile, my opponent is moving up their range to try and skirmish me, and of course they outrange me, and you know they probably will win this fight if they keep micromanaging well. Like pull it back because they can shoot while moving, and my guys cannot. So they can pull him back, run him forward, pull him back, run him forward, and just keep doing damage to me. But they are going to take some damage as they run away, and I'm like, okay, I see what they're doing. At this point, I have to change tactics. They are bringing their Glade Riders over here, but I mean, they're wasting their shots on Boris. Oh, they're doing so much damage on Boris, jeez. They are doing a ton of damage on Boris, but I do realize I have to change my tactics. So I do bring out these Knights of the Blazing Sun, put some pressure on their flanks. They are going to bring the Azrai Spear over here. Meanwhile, I begin advancing these other Knights of the Blazing Sun on the other flank. They are killing my archers, which is very intelligent, because even if they lose these guys to my archers, it will leave these two to just fire on and on. These guys will do more damage than those two. Obviously, they have the mobility, but there's more units in that army. So he's bringing his Azrai Spear out here, and this is something I like to do a lot, which is just, I know people are afraid of Azrai Spear, as you should be, because they will melt Cav. But heavy shock Cav can do a serious amount of damage on a charge, because they don't really have any bracing effects. They don't have charge defense. So you see here, I get a nice charge off, and I do a ton of damage. And then if I can just get my guys out as quickly as possible, you know, I took relatively minimal losses, and they took a ton of damage. So that's a good little move, I think, is something to have in your back pocket with fighting Azrai Spear. Meanwhile, on the top here, I'm going to start chasing down his Glade Riders. I wanted to create this little blob here. I didn't have anything to follow it up with, but I just wanted to create this little blob because now I'm going to charge. And their archers won't be able to fire well. Their units are going to be all kind of out of whack. And I might be able to catch their archers, although it looks like some of them are still moving, which is kind of lame. But meanwhile, over here, I set up a nice little pincer move. I set my Cav over here, my Cav over here, and I sent Boris to shoot the gap to try and get these guys, or at least push them. And you can see now they're breaking formation. Over here, Orion's trying to hold my guys up, and I'm like, fuck that, just leave them. And then I send my Demigriffs to get them. Meanwhile, all my Cav is over here in the back line. But we've caught these Glade Riders, and we're just going to melt them. Boris is going to chase these ones off. They are going to be taking some damage as this goes on, but I don't really mind that. And then this is actually a pivotal point in the battle. So my whole army is charged. My Light Horse is over here just hanging out. He was hidden the whole game, by the way. Obviously, they knew it existed after the first net. But the key moment of the game here is that so many of his units are charging after my Cav over here. I bring his Way Watcher, I bring his Azrai Spear, I bring the Eternal Guard, I bring a Wildwood Ranger. They're all just chasing Boris in these two units. Well, over here, I'm going to win this engagement now. Orion is getting beaten on by the Royal Outdwarf Griffiths. Yeah, he's going to hurt my Spearmen, and actually that does a ton of damage to the Royal Outdwarf Griffiths, surprisingly. But in the end, they will emerge victorious in this battle. I have my range just online firing into their range, so they're in position now. So the fact that they have 20 extra meters on their firing arc won't really matter because we're in range now. My Flagellant Sigmar Suns are just going to chew away at these units. Obviously, they will lose the Wildwood Rangers, but they'll trade pretty effectively. Over here, I see that Orion's pretty low. I probably cast this a little too early, but I wanted to make sure he couldn't escape. So, because he's a high mass unit, so I have the Royal Outdwarf Griffins. Meanwhile, over here, I lost a unit of Knights of the Blazing Sun, but basically, and it wasn't even really my plan to draw them over here, but once I saw they were coming, I was like, fine, I'll take that. As long as they're out of this battle, I can win this middle engagement. And as I say, if I can get these guys to outrange them, it's over. Because they just won't be able to catch them, especially with their lack of Cav. So, Boris is over here. Pretty healthy Knight of Lights of the Blazing Sun. The Griffites are about a little bit less than half health, but they've pretty much killed Orion. They have not betrayed Boris, not yet at least. Those sneaky Griffites. But yeah, so they're coming after Orion, who is a large target, so they're going to do some serious damage on him. Meanwhile, I'm in the back lines with these Spearmen. They're finally reforming these units that were away for a long time, but it might be a little too... I mean, these guys will be huge for them, but now they've already lost Orion, and the front line is not going well for them, as you can see. They're losing a lot of their units. The only unit they have left is Wild Rangers, and there's a full unit of Sigmar's Sons, Flagellants, who are, they're not in good health, but they'll fight to the end, remember. And, yeah, and their leadership is going to be severely impacted. Not to mention we have Boris still around here. I got these Knights of the Blazing Sun get caught out here. That was a mistake. They were regrouped. I just noticed, so they're going to die. An unglamorous, unceremonious death. But now I start bringing Boris in here for recharges a la Warhammer 1 back in the day. I net these Azrai Spears so they can't get in the, they can't fuck around here. They can't get in the fray. He's going to be popping stuff with Branch Wraith, of course, to heal, which makes sense. I mean, his big targets are lost. Over here, I'm going to clean up this Waystalker. Or whatever, yeah, is it Waystalker? Yeah, Waystalker to get rid of a little bit more of their leadership. I'm going to keep the Griffites over here because I do see this unit of Hagbane Tips, and I know that they're going to try and get at my range. So I'm going to make sure that they're screened off. Over here, I move the Flashlights into their range, and I turn them around to take some of this Azrai Spear because I just want to kill these guys. Because once these guys are gone, Boris has free reign over the battlefield. There's nothing that can really stop him. And so, same thing with my Knights of the Blazing Sun. So I send this guy in here, the Light Wizard, just to, whatever, muck things up, pull these guys down. I don't know how much damage it's going to do to who, but as you can see, these guys are getting beaten. The Flans are getting shot, but that's fine. A point blank in the back, but they won't retreat. They're pretty steady. I mean, they're little crazy guys. They won't run away. Oh, John Tom's messaging me, my fellow bro. But I'll jump on in a moment. So we got these Knights of the Blazing Sun running around. They're mucking shit up. They're finishing the game. Yeah, at this point, my opponent is very adept at putting his Eternal Guard to block the Knights of the Blazing Sun. Actually, I want to show both sides. He actually formed a little kind of L formation to protect these Wild Rangers from cycle charges. And that is such a good move. I mean, that's something I see all the time, is that when one army has lost the Cav battle, they'll just start chasing Cav and then just keep getting cycle charge, cycle charge, cycle charge. One of the best ways to sort of win the game, or I would argue one of the only ways really to win a game, pardon me, if your opponent has the mobility advantage, is to do something like this, is to just get your spears in a box, Just make a little new box with your spears and take the initial charges and then charge it and then reform into the box. That's really the only way you can beat these sort of cycle charging moves. Otherwise, they're just going to keep pulling away, hitting you, pulling away, hitting you, pulling away, hitting you, especially if you overcommit and start charging at them. And then before you know it, your whole army's gone. So that actually is a very, very good move on my opponent's part. Meanwhile, he's still trying to figure out what to do with his Hagbane Tips. I have kept my Royal Altdorf Griffites. This is a match of things I cannot pronounce, apparently. Ready, and you see, he charges them, and I'm gonna charge right back into them, and they just take so much damage. And then now the sandwich is gonna rout them. Between the double, that's pretty cool. The triple charge between Boris, the Knights of the Blazing Sun, the Royal Altdorf Griffites, and the Crush the Weak and all those abilities. Those guys are gonna flee. And then I get the Flagellants into the other Eternal Guard, and they will probably eventually lose. The Branch Wraith is pretty much the last thing holding this army together, so I sent Boris in there. And since Boris is kind of shitty now, he doesn't do as much damage as a dragon would just melt that in a second, but that's fair. Meanwhile, I'm not really. I think all these guys are almost out of ammo, so they will start engaging in melee soon. Over here, I'm just getting charges wherever I can. It doesn't really matter at this point because I think the game has been decided. Although it's rather close. I mean, there is a really healthy unit of Wild Rangers, but the problem is they're just fighting units that they won't trade effectively with. 39, 31 is good stats, but against 38 and 46, it's actually weaker. And their armor is crap. So Sigmar's Sons might actually beat that. I have to test it, but Sigmar's Sons might actually beat them straight up in a fight. So, because the armor piercing means nothing to guys. And they fight forever. So Sigmar's Sons, a solid unit in this matchup. And then the best part about Crossbowmen is that, yeah, sure, they're garbage stats, but, nothing has armor. So even, a bunch of these guys will be able to do some damage on high elf units. But yeah, ultimately this match has come down to Boris being unkillable with what remains of the high elf army, or sorry, Wood Elf army. They won't be able to take him down. Bring them down, bring them down, bring them down. They will not be able to do that. So it's just a matter of cleaning up right now. So we'll just hit the fast forward button. But GG, very well played to my opponent. It was a really, really fun game, especially after I played some crappy games where I lost a bunch of times. I was like, I feel a lot bad about myself. This was a lot of fun to play. So thank you very much, P Dizzle 37. P Dizzle, homie's cool. Yes, let's do a quick recap. So what performed well for me? I would say, the numbers don't really tell the tale here, but Sigmar's Sun, I think, were a fantastic unit because they did a lot of damage to that one Wildwood Ranger unit. And of course they held. All these numbers belie the fact that they were there forever and they just don't run away due to the unbreakable trait. So with that ability, this is such a good front line. It's what made Empire so great in the first game, that they would have these unbreakable lines of flagellants. You could throw Sigmar Suns in there, and especially Sigmar Suns with such great stats. They'll just hold forever. And against unarmored units, they're so good because they'll trade so effectively. Even really expensive unarmored units will lose a lot of health to them because they'll fight to the last man. Crossbowmen did their thing. They were able to mitigate the ranged. I mean, this unit only got 2 kills, one got 73, and then they were also able to ward off the Hagmane tips. I mean, if you look at just the cost effectiveness, these guys were 1,500. These were what? So that's 13 plus 16. That's about 2,900. So double the spend on their ranged, and I was still able to win the ranged battle. So that's huge. Of course, they were helped by the net, Boris, and all that stuff, but still, it was a big move. Yeah, Spearman did what Spearman needed to do. On my opponent's side, Waystalker, you don't see a lot, which is an interesting pick. The Arrows of Kronos was really effective against Boris, but they did get them. The Waystalker was caught out of position on the left flank and hit by my Cav and then Boris, and he just wasn't nearly as effective from the remainder of the game. But he did have a good Arrows of Kronos early on. Eternal Guard are just Eternal Guard. They're there to hold. They're armor-piercing spear units, so they're a very, very effective, cost-effective unit, very efficient unit. Something you want. Gee, I'm sorry, guys. This is a little burpee cast here. But yeah, they're just a very effective unit. They always sort of perform well. I mean, they're Mr. Consistent in this game. Azrai Spear are the terror of Cav everywhere in large, but because they had to run off, and really that was I think the turning point of the game is when they brought their Azrai Spear, their Wildwood Rangers, and their 2 Hagblade Tips, along with a single Eternal Guard, were just off in the corner. Not to mention the Waystalker was there too. So there's like thousands and thousands of resources just being wasted on my 2 Blazing Sun and Boris Todbringer just chasing things in the corner, while the main battle just started to turn in my favor. By the time they brought them back, it was too late. Their range was killed, and they had no way to get my crossbowmen, so they were able to just fire with impunity. And then my Cav was able to sort of just cycle charge everything to death. And then Orion was, I remember I said he's a throwaway kind of guy, but he was thrown away a little too hastily, and he got caught out a little bit too far from his line, because by the time he was trying to retreat, it was too late. His health was so low, the Royal Altdorf Griffites were able to just do what they do and just tear him up. But anyways, great game to my opponent, Pete. It's a lot of fun. Hope to see you again. And I guess that is it for this cast. See ya, guys.